I'm Sergeant Joey Watson. I serve the Illinois State Police as a motorcycle officer, and today we're going to talk about motorcycle safety and how I can keep myself safe on the road and how you guys can help me stay safe on the road. So let's start out by talking about the differences in protection. If you look at this vehicle, it's just your average four-door vehicle. What are you thinking about whenever you think safety equipment that keeps you safe inside of that vehicle? What are you guys thinking?
Probably airbags.
Airbags, right? What else? Seatbelts? Yeah. So those are the common things that we think of. What else is in there? Did you realize that there are crumple zones inside of this vehicle? Your car is designed to wad up and absorb energy and take it through the frame, through the top of the vehicle, and the important part where you're sitting is hopefully left unscathed, right? That's kind of a cool technology that you didn't even realize may or may not have been there. And all of that is born and bred in the racetrack, NASCAR, IndyCar. They'll take a car and plow it into a wall at 100 miles an hour, and the driver will get out and shake it off. Wow. Neat stuff, right? Yeah, it's kind of cool. How many of those does a motorcycle have? None, right? So when it rains, it gets really hard for us to see, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. How many of those does a motorcycle have? One, right? And it's kind of small and dim, right? So it's very hard for us to see at night. Take a look at the dashes of old. You guys are a little bit too young to remember cars like this, but back in the day, all of the dashes were made of metal. Steel, pressed steel. How would you like to hit your head on that, right? Not so much, right? I'm good, right? Yeah. Oh, you've got your cigarette lighter sticking off the dash here, 2 inches, waiting for your eyeball, right? You've got this stick that's got a steering wheel wrapped around it. There's nothing collapsible about that. So when we were dying in crashes back in the day, it was medieval style, like they were sticking that pole in their chest. It was awful. So we've come a long way in our interior design alone. We've got padded dashes, recessed flush mount knobs. We've got gear shift levers that are swept away from us instead of pointing back at us. Just in the interior design, we've come a long way with cars. Analog braking system, you can't even get a vehicle now without an ABS system. You can't go to the dealership and say, I don't want to save that money. It doesn't happen. ABS is going to come standard with it. So let's go over to the motorcycle side. Not much there, right? Here's what the average dash looks like on an American-made motorcycle. Is there anything padded or recessed or flush mount about that? No, right? Not at all. Yeah, and as you think about it, whenever we get in a crash, if you think about the shape of a motorcycle tank, it's basically kind of like a ramp, isn't it? Yeah, so when we get in a crash on a motorcycle like this, think about it. When the car turns left in front of us, a body in motion stays in motion until acted upon by an outside source, right? Mm-hmm. You guys have learned that in school. It's Newton's laws of motion. We're going to go forward. So when we slam into the side of that vehicle and we go forward, we're going to go up the tank, aren't we? And it's not going to feel nice, is it, right? Yeah, and there's nothing padded or recessed or flush mount, and that bar up there at the top, it's not going to give you a hug as you go through it, is it? No, it's going to hurt. Where's that motorcycle at? Where's it at? Find it. Where's it at? Oh my gosh, right? Why is it so hard to see us in traffic? Why do you think that is?
It's smaller.
Because we're a lot smaller, right? What about our headlight? Is it very bright? No. It's kind of small and dim, right? So it's very hard for you to see us. Well, here we are in the upper left-hand corner. Mm-hmm. So because of that, we call it kind of it's almost like an urban camouflage if you think about it. You guys have seen the deer on the side of the road, right? Yeah. So the deer comes out on the side of the road, and if they're moving, they're not hard to see, right? Mm-hmm. But if they're stationary, they blend into the background, don't they?
Yep.
So I get it. This is a stationary picture, so it's hard to see us.
Yeah.
But even in moving situations, when we come up to the intersection, we glance over, and the next thing you know, we disappear into the background. That's what's happening. When you glance, it's basically a still frame. There's nothing moving about it, right? So that's why it's important to look twice at an intersection. And I'll come back to that point, so remember that one. That's a good one. The analog braking system, that's a $1,000 option if it's available on the bike that you want. Not all bikes have it. It's getting better, but not all of them have it. Now look at this. Do we have windshield wipers? No, right? So when it rains, the best I've got a little seam on the side of my glove, and right, that's all I got. So it's very hard for me to see in the rain. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Check out this video. This is cool. This is the one and only motorcycle in the entire industry that has this. And why would you want that? To keep you on the bike, right? Mm-hmm. So that you don't go up the tank, right? So that's what it does. But this is a $2,500 option, and it's only available on that motorcycle. So if you don't like that one, you're out of luck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the Dionysi company, the Italians, they said, oh, we're going to solve this for the masses. Yay, Airbag Suit. Woo! Yeah, right. How many of your parents run around in racing leathers, right? Like, nobody's going to have that either except on a racetrack. So going back to this slide, if you're sitting there thinking, you know, Sergeant Watson, I think you're the coolest dude on the planet, and I want to be just like you. Like, you guys are thinking that, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, right. So if you're sitting there thinking, I want a motorcycle, how do you keep yourself safe? Like, we looked at the car, and it's built into the car. You know, for the low price of $45,923, it's built in. But when you go to the dealership for a motorcycle, how do you keep yourself safe there? What are your ideas? Like, how do you keep yourself safe on a bike?
Obviously a helmet.
Helmet, boots, gloves, like some of the equipment that you see me. I'll show that to you after a while. There's some stuff available. So is he ready for the ride?
No.
Or this non-DOT approved Viking helmet, right? Not so much, right? Or are they ready for the ride?
Oh, yeah.
They're ready for the ride, right? So if you're sitting there thinking, Sergeant Watson, I think you're awesome, and I want to be just like you when I grow up, I want to ride a motorcycle. Dude, I love having my knees in the breeze, but you got to bring it with you. You got to put it on. You got to get it out of the closet and put it on. So that's how you keep yourself safe on a bike. Now, let's move on a little bit farther. So you got your differences in protection. Let me stress this to you, because you're sitting there saying, Sergeant Watson, you know, I think I don't want anything to do with motorcycles. Like, they kind of scare me. Like, they're kind of creepy. That's okay. Like, if four-wheelers are your thing, like, I got something for you too, right? Your fender bender is my personal injury or fatal crash. And you're sitting there like, what does that mean? Your fender bender is my personal injury or fatal crash. Think about it. When we get in a car crash, motorcycle versus car, right? It's a fender bender for the most part to you guys because you've got the steel roll cage wrapped around you. For me, though, all I've got on is what I've got to protect me. Oh, right. So there's a big difference in the types of protection. So let's take a look. Have you guys ever been in a car versus deer crash? Anybody ever? You guys been in one of those? No? Lucky you, right? It happens. Think about those crashes, though. They're generally kind of fender benders, aren't they, right? Like, nobody usually goes to the hospital like you usually drive the car home, usually. I've handled thousands of these. That's usually how it goes. So let's talk about a motorcycle versus deer crash. And you're sitting there looking at that bike going, that doesn't look that bad. That's a $14,000 motorcycle. It's totaled.
Oh, wow.
What caused the crash? Do you see it?
Yeah. All that deer hair.
Oh.
There it is right there.
Yep.
There's the cause of the crash. One screwed up coat, one screwed up pair of pants, one screwed up pair of gloves, one helmet complete with a gouge where the rider's head hit the pavement. By the way, this helmet sits on a shelf and reminds that rider, hey, genius, glad you had your helmet on today because today would have changed your life. One screwed up knee, one screwed up elbow, complete with 4 stitches and a scar to prove it. There it is.
Oh, wow.
That was my crash. I spent about 4 hours in the ER sucking my thumb in the fetal position because, dude, this little fender bender sucked. It hurt, like it hurt bad. It hurt for days after that. It hurt. Your little fender bender is a big deal to me. So how do we work with each other on the roadway, right? And that's what we're getting to. How does this apply to you guys as newly licensed drivers? You're getting ready to jump on a car. You're getting ready to take out on the roadway. There are other things that you need to start paying attention to, and little small populations that are very vulnerable, such as pedestrians, wheelchair operators, motorcyclists. Those are all very vulnerable populations in traffic, and so you really need to start paying attention to those. All right, so how does this apply to you? This is how it applies to you. When you're coming up to the intersection, you've really got to pay attention at those intersections.
How close does a biker have to be before you see them? Here. Here. Or here. At a junction, look, then look again. Think, take longer.
It's kind of
to
that
look
light
for
bulb
bikes.
moment, isn't it, right? So you break the urban camouflage by looking twice at those intersections. And you've seen it all the time. Like, you jump out at the intersection, you look once, and off you go. That's where you've got to look twice because it breaks that camouflage and it lets you see us. You don't have to be, like Albert Einstein to see something move in traffic, right? Oh, geez, something moved, right? So, yeah, just pay attention, especially at the intersections. And some of the things that distract our attention away from doing that, my favorite down here in the lower right-hand corner, like everybody has their phone, suction cup to the windshield, right? So now the thing that is guiding you down the roadway is prohibiting you from seeing it. Right? And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. It's kind of crazy. And road rage, like, you know how this is, right? Get out of the way! I see you over there, right? And then people cutting you off. Well, what's happening is when a motorcycle is involved in traffic and you guys are frustrated inside of your car, you're not paying attention to your lane changes. And that's what's happening. What's the proper way to do a lane change? Do you guys know?
You have to.
Yeah, you got to physically look over your shoulder, right? So you clear the lane, you clear your blind spots by looking over your shoulder, and then the next thing you know, you change into the next lane with your turn signal, right? But you're mad, right? So you just jerk into the other lane and you cut people off, and motorcycles, again, are getting cut off in traffic. So that's why it's really important to pay attention to those lane changes. This is that slide I've been promising you. This is what it looks like with rain just on the windshield of the motorcycle. Now I'll add in on top of that a helmet covered in water and a windshield covered in water. Dude, I can't see you. You've got to turn on your headlights. You guys know what the law says. Whenever the windshield wipers come on, what has to come with it?
The headlights.
The headlights, right? This is why. So at least I'll have a white blob and a red blob. I can't see you otherwise. If you're darked out, I'm not going to be able to see you. So that's why that law exists, is so that we can see you. Okay? All right, stuff hanging from the rearview mirror. This is your GPS. This is your tree hanging from the rearview mirror, right? And this is your girlfriend's garter, right? If your high school graduation tassel, if you make it, right? And this is all the stuff that we put up there on our rearview mirrors. Now take a look. My 950-pound touring motorcycle, complete with my big old butt, wearing my chartreuse don't hit me jacket and my full face helmet, just disappeared behind your girlfriend's garter, your fuzzy dice, whatever else you got up there. So you've got to take that stuff down. You've got to be able to see through the windshield, okay? That's why that law exists. All right, anybody have a friend with a big bucket head? She's like, yeah, he's sitting next to me, right? You come to the intersection, dude, lean your melon back, right? You got to be able to clear the intersection when you come up to dude, move your pumpkin out of the way, right? So if you're the passenger, make sure that you're leaning back at those intersections and letting your driver clear through the intersection. All right. And of course, disobedience to traffic laws is a huge deal to us. Motorcyclist has a green light, car driver has a red light, distracted, looks up at the last second. Oh, dude, remember, your fender bender is our personal injury or fatal crash. I don't want to be there. You don't want me there because you don't want your car torn up, right? Look how torn up this car is off of that fender bender. Do you think your insurance agent's going to be happy with you? Well, yeah, he is, actually, because they're going to raise your rates, right? So it's not a good situation. You don't want me there. I don't want to be there. So how do we get along with each other on the roadway? By paying attention, putting your distractions down, paying attention to the Illinois Vehicle Code. So to wrap up with motorcycle safety, basically the things that you need to remember are, if you're interested in motorcycling, get it out of the closet and put it on. Boots, helmets, gloves, some sort of eye protection, something to keep your arms and your legs safe from impact. If you've got some sort of leather, skid, and abrasion protection. For the car driver, make sure that you're paying attention to your lane changes and especially the intersections, because that's really where the meat and potatoes of motorcycle safety is at, is people miss motorcycles at those interchanges because they're not breaking that urban camouflage. Make sure that you look twice when you come to those intersections. It'll break that camouflage, make it safer for you, and make it safer for the rider.